Hello students and welcome to yet another lesson. My name is Teacher Lillian and I'm continuing with poetry and I'm looking at common styles used in poetry. Okay, the styles used in poetry. So the style, definition of the style in poetry is how a poet organizes his language to express him or herself. There are different ways that a poet can organize his language for the sake of the student understanding or the learner understanding his work of art. And it is divided into two parts. We have sound devices and other stylistic devices. So I'll start with sound devices and talk about sound devices bring about rhythm. Okay, and rhythm is the beat in a poem. So how do you achieve rhythm in a poem? The repeated pattern, a repeated pattern of beat or sound. That is what we call rhythm. And rhythm can be achieved in different ways, but those ways must be under sound devices. The first sound device I'll talk about is alliteration. ALLITERATION. Spelling in sound patterns is very vital, so be very careful and cautious when you're writing these words. Alliteration. And alliteration is repetition of similar consonantal sounds in words next or close to each other in a line. So the words can be next to each other, meaning that they are following each other, or they can be close to each other, meaning between that word and the other one, there are 2 or 3 words in between. But more than 4 words in between the words, then we don't have alliteration. They must be 3 and below, okay, to achieve alliteration. Repetition of similar, initial consonantal sounds in words next or close to each other. So it's initial. Underline the word initial. They must be at the beginning of a word. And they are consonantal. Consonantal means b, k, t, k. All those consonantal sounds, not the vowel sound, consonantal sound. And they must be at the beginning of a word. For example, I give you a line. I know you know this poem called The Sound of the Engine, The Song of the Engine. It's in one of your textbook. I'll take just one line in that poem by Wesley Benison. The fourth stanza, in the fourth stanza, and now for a roaring, rushing races. And now for a roaring, rushing race. A roaring, rushing race. So we have the R sound in roaring, we have the R sound in rushing, and we have the R sound in race. So when you're identifying alliteration, if there are 2, 3, 4 in one line, make sure you have them all when you're identifying alliteration. If you identify 2 and leave 2, you'll not get that mark. So write all the 4 words if there are 4. If there are 3 in that line, write them. So we shall underline the R in roaring, the R in rushing, and the R in race. That is alliteration. We go to assonance. Assonance is repetition of similar vowel sounds in words next or close to each other. I have already explained what is next and what is close to each other. Repetition of what? Vowel sounds, and not letters, vowel sounds. A word could be having a different letter but pronounced differently. So we are looking at the sound itself. So I still go back to the poem on that engine, the song of the engine, and there is a line that says, "At last the top was reached." At last the top was reached. Let us look at the word top and was. Top and was. So there is O in top and O in was. Mark that the word O was is written W But as we pronounce it as was. So it's top, was. So we shall write the two words and underline the O in top and the O in was and say there is assonance. Number 3 is consonance. Consonance is repetition of similar consonantal sounds in words next or close to each other. Consonance, repetition of similar consonantal sounds in words next or close to each other. What do I mean? That there is a repetition of a consonantal sound. Consonantal sound. The difference between alliteration and consonance is alliteration is initial consonantal sound, and in consonance is any part of the word that has a consonantal sound. It can be at the middle or at the end. So not at the beginning. Mark that. Go back to the same sentence, the same line, because it's a poem, the same line. At last the top was reached and passed. Reached and passed. So we have t in reached and t in passed. So write the two words and underline t and t in reached and t in past. When we're writing the word reached, we write it as R-E-A-C-H-E-D. But when we pronounce it as reached. So that sound pronounced is what we look at, not the spelling, but the sound. So you'll underline t in reached and t in past. The next one that I want us to look at is rhyme. Rhyme. How do we achieve rhyme, or what is rhyme? Rhyme is the matching of final sounds in words or more words, in 2 words or more words. And rhyme appears mostly at the end of the line, the word at the end of the line. Or we can have internal rhyme, where we have a word in the middle of a line and at the end, but they look alike in pronunciation at the end of that word. That is what we call rhyme. Okay? In a line, like I take any line, for example. Okay, still referring to our poem, The Song of the Engine. You can get it in your books. I can't remember exactly, but it is in one of our textbooks. The Song of the Engine. We want to look at rhyming words. Rhyming words, we've said that they appear at the end of a line. The word at the end of a line, the sound of the word. If they are similar, then there is rhyme. We have rhyming words. Go to the first answer that says, reads, with a snort and pant the engine dragged. The second line, it's heavy train uphill. The third line, and puffed these words the while she puffed. And the last one, and labored with a wheel. So which are the last words? We have dragged, uphill, puffed, and wheel. And we have said rhyme is similar pronounced words at the end of the line. So dragged and puffed are pronounced the same at the end. Uphill and wheel are pronounced the same. Ill, good, dead, in dragged and in puffed. So we will say that those words rhyme. The other way to achieve sound pattern or sound device is through rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme is the order of words. And we give it through alphabet. We move to the end of the line, and the first sound that we get at the last word, we give it an alphabet A. The second one, if it is similar, it will have the same A. The third one, if it is different, it will have the alphabet B. We continue like that. So those words that rhyme will have similar alphabets in small letters. Those with different sounds or that are not rhyming, they'll have different alphabets. And rhyme scheme can be classified into 2. That is regular rhyme scheme or irregular rhyme scheme. So when we have a regular rhyme scheme, it means then that you can be able to predict the next alphabet. For example, in this one, we have A, B, A, B. So if we were to move to another different stanza, we can be able to predict what will come next. Maybe K, D, K, D. Okay, so that rhyme that can be predictable is called regular rhyme scheme. That which cannot be predicted is called irregular rhyme scheme. So do exercises on that. The next sound pattern that I'll look at is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, spelling onomatopoeia. So onomatopoeia, I spell it for you. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A. So this refers to words which, when said, sounds like the sound it describes. Okay, the sound they describe. Whistle. What does a bee do? A bee buzz. What does a snake do? A snake hisses. So if these words are in a poem, then we will say that we have what? Onomatopoeia, the sounds that are similar to what they produce. Okay, the engine snorts. Okay, so that is onomatopoeia. And the last one is ideophone. Ideophone is a device used to describe the sound, to simulate and represent action. Okay, to represent action. That is ideophone. So if we have ideophone in a poem, then we shall say that it is also bringing forth what? Rhythm. Okay, so what are the uses of this sound pattern? If you have been asked a question, give the sound pattern and also give its use. You'll earn all marks. For example, identify alliteration in the above poem in maybe line 2 in stanza 2, for example. I've just picked a question randomly from my mind. So you'll go back to that line. If there is alliteration, then you will talk of, now we are writing the answer, alliteration. Write the words and underline where we have alliteration, repetition of similar initial consonant or sound, and then talk about it enhances rhythm. So when you write that, you'll get the 3 marks. Okay, so what are the uses of sound pattern? 1, enhance rhythm. 2, create mood. 3, enhances memorability. 4, enhances musicality. And 5, it reinforces or strengthens the meaning of a poem. So I hope you have understood the sound patterns. Look for a poem that asks questions on sound patterns. Attempt the questions and make sure they are marked. If you have not understood anything, comment section, just write your question. I'll be glad to answer your questions, because that is my joy when I see a student understand something from what I have taught. Don't feel shy. I am a teacher by profession. I am a qualified teacher and I teach in a government high school. So I will be glad. I love students who ask questions. If you have not understood anywhere in sound pattern or any other topic I've talked about, feel free to ask me. I'll be very, very willing to answer. Goodbye.